on a magnet. That's right, the Earth is a big magnet. That's what makes a compass work.
Magnets are made of metals, iron, cobalt, or nickel. If a magnet comes near one of these metals, it pulls on it. If a magnet comes near another magnet, it pushes on it or pulls on it. With magnets, likes repel, opposites attract.
Good morning, scholars, and welcome to Day 3, Week 5 of Forces and Magnetism. As Bill Nye explained just a few moments ago, magnets attract. They have a north and a south pole. Let's review what else we've already learned about magnets. Remember, we learned about magnetism. Magnetism, the power of a magnet to attract. A force that pushes and pulls certain metals. Variety, a number of different things in a group. Look at the wide variety of fruit. Strawberries, kiwi, grapes, orange, melon. A wide variety. There's different options here. A variety of fruit. Convenient. Convenient. Useful or easy to use. Helpful. Convenient. It is convenient for me to use my computers to teach my lesson. It is convenient for me to text my friend back on my phone. It is not convenient for me to go to the mall because I have to get in my car, and that makes it not convenient. It's convenient for me to go to my closet because it's right next to my bed in my house. Convenient means it's useful or easy to use. Incision, a surgical cut made in the skin. Incision, I would or would not like to have a doctor to make an incision on my body because, why don't you guys go ahead and share? Thank you for sharing. Reliance, dependence, trust. People's reliance on magnets only continues to grow. Who is someone you rely on? How? I rely on because Go ahead and share out. Awesome. We also did our first read of Magnetism, Magnets, Types, and Uses. We kept in mind our text-focusing question, what are different types of magnets and how are they used in our daily lives? Do you remember something you read? Can you share? Thank you. Your homework was to annotate your text and to answer the questions for the Day 2 activity in your packet. If you have completed these assignments, please text me the photo. Let's move on to Day 3. Today we're going to reread Magnetism, Magnets, Types, and Uses. That will help us learn about the different types of magnets and how we use magnets to make our lives easier. Today, we will answer questions to help us demonstrate our understanding of the text. Are you ready? Great! Okay, when we answer text-based questions, we follow 4 simple rules. First, we read the question. We notice which section of the text the question is discussing. After we read, great readers always reread the text. Reread the text. You are going to read the text more than once, sometimes even more than twice. Then, we're going to annotate the text, and we're going to do this by underlining the evidence that answers the question. Lastly, you're going to write. You're going to write down your answer and use the prompt to help you. Okay, are you ready to try this together? Let's look at question number 1. What information about the uses of magnets did you learn from the article? Your text will look a little bit like this inside of your article. If you notice on the left-hand side, it lists your chunked text, and then it has your text-dependent questions. Let me read it with you. There are many different uses of magnets. What information about the uses of magnets did you learn from in the article? What information about the uses of magnets did you learn from the article? Okay, so we're going to go back to the text and we're going to find how they use magnets in different ways. One of the key words I'm going to look for is the word uses, okay? Uses of magnets. And I'm just going to remind myself of that as I read. Does this use magnets? Alright, you ready? This is the text that we're going to read. If you were in your packet, I'm beginning to read here. I'm going to begin to read it magnets. Whenever I find that it mentions the question of how I use the magnets, I'm going to underline or highlight, alright? Magnets come in a equally wide variety of uses. The most common are bars or discs. Because they stick to certain metals, these magnets are used to fasten and latch things, like a cabinet door. Huge horseshoe magnets have a U-shape. They are used to move iron and steel scrap. Tiny magnets on audio tape and store sound and images. I didn't really... Where do you see that they talked about how I used magnets? In the beginning, it just talks about different kinds of magnets, but then, oh my gosh, right here, it says these magnets are used to fasten and latch things. So, magnets are being used to fasten and latch things like a cabinet door. This is one way magnets are being used. Huge horseshoe magnets have a U-shape. No, that doesn't explain it. But these are used to move iron and steel scrap. That is telling me one way that magnets are used in our everyday lives. Tiny magnets on audio tape and store sound and images. So audio tape and videotape store sound and images using magnets. And I know that you guys don't really use audio tapes all the time, but when I was young, we used audio tapes all the time. So that would be definitely something we use in our everyday lives. Alright, let's continue reading. Magnets are everywhere. They help to make life more convenient. They also help us to get around more quickly. For example, many electrical motors require electromagnets to run. Electrical motors require electromagnets to run. Okay. The magnetic force that runs the motors is created when an electrical current flows. Okay, so this is explaining how the electrical motor uses magnets. Motors with electromagnets can help run household appliances. I use a food processor. That's one item I use in the kitchen. I use a car because it says the motors of cars, trains, and airplanes. These are all ways that I might use magnets in my everyday life. So now, on your own or together, let's see if we can find some details in paragraph 3 of how we use magnets in our everyday life. If you find part of the text that tells you how you use magnets, go ahead and underline it. Yeah, okay, I think you did find something there, right? Did you guys find where it mentions that huge magnets can give pictures within the body? Excellent. So now we have another reason that we can use magnets. The last paragraph I'm going to let you guys do on your own, but there is another way that's mentioned that we use magnets in our everyday life. So, let's go back to the text. Let's go back to the question. After we've been looking at the text, let's go back to the question. So we might say, there are many different uses of magnets. One of the ways that we use magnets in our everyday life is... So now we can go back to our evidence and decide which one do you think we should use. I'm just going to go ahead and start at the top and say that we can use magnets to fasten and latch things like a cabinet door. One of the ways that we use magnets in our everyday life, according to the text, magnets are used to fasten and latch things like a cabinet door. I want you guys to notice the way that I said one of the ways. One right here is a transition word. Okay? We mentioned transition words in our last week activity. I want you guys to make sure that every time you mention a new object that we use magnets from in our everyday life, you're going to use another transition word, okay? So you might use one. You might use words like next, or then, or after. Okay, and then of course you're going to say lastly, or in conclusion, as you guys begin to wrap up your essay. Okay, so then the last step is to compare and contrast the effect of truth and magnetism, magnets, types, and uses. This is the article that we read today, and that we went over, and that we highlighted earlier. Now, when we look at the second part, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go back to our text from last week, and we're going to follow the same steps. We're going to go back through, we're going to reread, we're going to read again, we're going to annotate where we find our evidence, and then we're going to answer our question using complete sentences. So, let's go ahead and discuss how does magnetism, magnets, types, and uses, how do we use this in our everyday life? We can quickly jot, for example, we use it for household appliances. Because it says jot, we don't need to necessarily use complete sentences. We could say, we use magnets in our kitchen appliances. So this is one way that we use magnets. So now you would go back to the text and find another example to fill in this block. And then you're going to go back to your text from last week and you're going to do the same activity.
This train floats over its rails on a magnetic field. It's floating on magnetism, so there's no friction to slow it down, so it goes fast.
Did you ever wonder which way is north? You could tell if you had a compass. They're easy to make. Just rub a needle with a magnet. Always rub in the same direction, like this. Rub it a lot, like 50 or 60 times. Now, put the needle on top of a film cap. It's plastic and it floats. The needle will slowly turn to point north. Science always points you in the right direction.
Alright, thank you for joining me for class today. Last but not least, let's review. For homework, we're going to make sure we annotate our text and complete the day 3 questions, use complete sentences, and text me completed assignments. Complete your journaling activity. Do 30 minutes of iReady reading and 30 minutes of Epic. And make sure that you're moving around. Go ahead and engage in that movement minute. If you are doing the movement minute, you can send me a video and I'll post it to the group. That way everyone on Teams can see how awesome you're doing. Alright, thank you guys so much for joining me for class today, and I will see you on Friday to go over our day 4 activity. Have a wonderful day. Bye!